Competitions, and we'll have the winner at around 12:30. Now, from his days training to be a nurse in England, to becoming a Buddhist monk in Thailand, to running a non-profit children's hospital in India, my next guest has had an interesting journey since his childhood days in Melan in County Cork. However, his focus now is about raising awareness on child hunger. His name is Pat McMahon. You're very welcome to the programme, Pat.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you.
Let's go back to your beginnings. I mean, you were backpacking and you got it in your head to become a monk for a while.
Yeah, basically, I'd been travelling around probably for 3 or 4 years, backpacking around the world, working here and there. And then I'd heard about this monastery, and I went to have a look, thinking that I'd stay 1 or 2 weeks, and I stayed 2 years. I ordained as a monk. So I probably always look back as it being the most beautiful period of my life, a period where it was just a time to to study, to meditate. Everything was given to me.
Now, in Buddhism, can you leave the vocation then? Can you say, I am no longer a monk? Or as we sit here, are you still a Buddhist monk?
No, in Buddhism you are allowed to leave.
You are allowed to leave.
You can disrobe.
Now, before you went into the monastery, you had accumulated a bit of cash. What did you do with the cash?
Well, basically, when I became a monk, one of the rules was that you couldn't have any money. So I had about €4,000, which at that time was enough for me to travel around the world for 2 years. So I transferred that to my friend's bank account. And after 2 years, my friend gave it back to me.
When you left, he said, I have the money that you put in my account, so here you are. Yeah. So you might have continued on your travels, but for an encounter.
Well, see, I didn't really feel that this money was my money. So I had been to India before, so I thought I'll return to India and I'll do something in India with the €4,000 and kind of in some way complete that karmic cycle. So I went to this city called Varanasi and I started working on the streets. Now in Varanasi, in the government hospitals, if you don't have money for medicine, they won't admit you. Mm-hmm. So what I was doing was children that had been refused admission to government hospitals, people had got to know that I would pay for treatment. So I did this for 6 months and it was a real eye-opener. You know, we talk about our health service here and our health system, that we have in Ireland and in the developing world, but in the developed world. But when you come across children, literally because their parents don't have money for the medicine, so the average wage would be about €2 a day. So that's what I was doing.
That's what you were doing. I'm always astonished when we hear stories like this about India, which, of course, is one of the great growth economies. They've put spacecraft in space. They have the atomic bomb. They have a massive army. So they spend money on these kind of things. And I've always wondered, why is it people like Pat McMahon from Ireland and other people who are asked to put their hands in their pockets are doing the job that can be properly done by the Indian government? Absolutely, I agree.
Actually, the Indian government spend more money on the military than they do in health and education combined, So it's a very easy thing to say, well, why should we do? But when you're on the ground and when you actually see this is...
Well, you do it because no one else is going to do it.
Yeah, because a child is a child,
yeah.
And in our world now, they say 1 in every 6 people are hungry.
What happened then to cause you to start a hospital? I mean, how did that come about?
Well, my money was almost finished and I kind of thought that that's it. I've done my duty after 6 months. My money was almost finished. The €4,000 was almost finished. But something came into my head and I can only describe it as like a belt on the right side of my head, that it was like a jolt that you can't go. This is not your time to go. So it was 2 weeks before my visa was up. I followed that intuition. I had no understanding why I was doing this. So I extended my visa. I changed my plane ticket. And the very day that I was supposed to fly out, a doctor from a government hospital rang me and said, look, we have a child critically ill here. Can you come and see the child? So I thought, okay, this is the reason for me staying for this child. So when I got to the government hospital, they they said, we've actually sent this child to an honour hospital. A private hospital was just setting up. So this was a doctor that was just setting up a private hospital, and he had been known to take children that had been refused. He wouldn't pay for treatment, but he'd give them a bed. Mm-hmm. So I found this hospital. First thing I did was went down, saw the child that was critically ill, said start the treatment, went into the doctor's chamber, and literally I'd say within 2 minutes we'd started a project, because he had a building bigger than he needed, and obviously my background as a nurse, we understood that we could create a very good hospital with my Western training, and so we rented one floor. So that's basically how it started.
And that was, 10 years ago?
That was 10 years ago.
You want to read something for me?
Yeah, I suppose the year after that, see, everything is chance and possibility. The year after that, I got lost in a slum area, and I found a child literally dying of malnutrition, dying on the street of malnutrition, and her name was Tisa. And I took Tisa. Now, I'd never seen malnutrition before, and I took her to our hospital, and from then we started, we were the first malnutrition centre in the city of Varanasi and the state of Uttar Pradesh, which is considered one of the poorest states. So that was kind of how it started. Like, it's very easy to talk about the numbers of malnutrition in the world. You know, they say that 10 million children are dying every year because of malnutrition, dying because of lack of hunger. And these figures are, in some way, we can't comprehend it. And the story I'm going to relate to and that I'm going to speak to you about is the story of one child. And there's a bit of a pretext to this story, because it's been a difficult journey for me for the past 10 years, you know, trying to find the money, go out every 6 months for 6 months. And there was one year I was coming back, and you know, you see people everywhere and the trains are absolutely crowded, and I was questioning my mind, what is it that we're doing, you know, that there's so many people everywhere. And when I got to the hospital, there was this child admitted, and for me, so this is the piece that I want, and so it's called Dear Soul You. That you, dear soul, have a bed tonight in a hospital where with all our might and strength we will try and save you. You are very sick, little one, but I think that you know that. You have been 2 years on this earth, and I think they have been tough for you, for your weight is no more than 12 pounds. Your lifeless body, without any sense of being a child. A deadly silence surrounds you. Perhaps you lost your screams soon after your birth. Your first screams of life and force and hope gradually become dulled and forgotten. When I first saw you this evening, I did not shed a tear, but it felt like my soul had been stabbed. With all our might, little one, we will not give up. Now that we have met, there is an us. Things may not be so bad after all. Wake up if you can hear me. Wake up and fight, because your future will be 1,000 times brighter than your past has been. Together we will fight. Your smile one day you will show me if you can. 3 days have now passed, and today, for the first time, I heard your muffled cry, your silence broken. In a children's hospital, what you fear most is this silence. A cry means that there is life returning. I see some light radiating from your eyes. I hesitate to write this, but I think that we are winning. It is the first time since you came to us that I feel a real sense of hope. My heart has become fully engaged. As a rule, if I allow myself the opportunity to get to know some of the children that we treat, I wait until we are sure that you will get well, when there is no longer any doubt. To love when there is still doubt, you risk your heart being broken as it has been broken in the past. But somehow this time I broke my own rule, to experience really what we mean to children. I watch and feel your progress, your coming back to life, but I cannot be sure yet. Although I wish it more than anything. Let me come back to these words in time to come and smile at them, for now it is only black and empty unknown. Some days later, we have won, victory is ours. Today I saw you sitting up on your own and eating some fruit slowly and delicately. When you came to us, you were a dying shell, but your love of life kept you with us. I have not seen you smile yet, but we have won the battle. I cry because I am happy. Yesterday, the 23rd of August, 2 days before this book is to go to the printers, I saw you give the tiniest of tiny smiles as I was making funny faces at you. In your eyes, even for the briefest of brief moments, they sparkled once more with the child's curiosity. There is tears in my eyes again because I dared to love.
That is wonderful, Pat. And she did thrive, survive and thrive.
She did.
Which is wonderful. And you're saying that every little body, every little person is important. Every
little being, like, you know, and I think it's what keeps me going. You know, even when I read this, you know, I'm caught with emotion because this innocence of a child, whether it's our niece, our nephew, our brother, our sister, it's this thing that is inseparable. This child, you know, figures like 5 million. One day I read today that every 10 seconds a child dies of hunger. You know, and this is what our generation...
Your preoccupation now is with childhood malnutrition, child starvation really in the world. You're most familiar with India, and you brought in something which is a miracle worker, and it's a little pouch, and it is called Easy Paste, E-double-E-Z-double-E paste, and there are different components. This one is not. What difference has this little pouch made to your work?
Like, this is amazing. We have a 10-bedded hospital, so that meant that before we had this, we could only treat 150 children a year, because they'd have to come in for a month or so to go on a very specific feeding program. In the past 3 months, we found 180 children are on this program. We're literally going. We've trained up 3 Indian mothers. They're going from door to door. There's a very easy assessment for malnutrition now. You just measure their mid arm. If it's under a certain level, they're referred to us. And
basically this is feeding with a very high quality protein.
Yeah, and micronutrients. And it's very finely balanced. So it takes each packet costs about 30 cents. It costs, for us, for the running costs, to run the whole program now, which is about a 6-week or 2-month program, costs €43 per child. So that means that's including all the medicine, the rent of our hospital, the staff, all the transport.
So save a life for
€43. That's what we're doing. You know.
Incredible. If people want to help your charity, there's a very simple way of giving €4 by texting India to 50300, and you automatically donate €4. All of that, 100% of that, will go to the Varanasi Children's Hospital. And if people want to go on your website, perhaps give a little bit more.
Yeah, and there's opportunities you can, obviously, standing orders is the way to go. We also run a school teaching 300 children, and that's completely covered with standing orders. So obviously this is the way for us to go. One thing I would like to say is that, look, it is the huge issue of our generation is hunger in our world. And Ireland in particular, we've got agencies like Concern, Goal, Trocra, Valid International. They're doing amazing work with nutrition. And I'm just saying to people and malnutrition, you know, when you see people out on the street and, you know, it can be difficult. Or when you see the advert, the Concern advert, you know, the child that you see that's not a make-up child. That's a real child that has been hungry for months and months. So, you know, we've had a long history because of our own history of famine, with doing Trojan work for malnutrition. So I think we need to be proud of this, but also I think we can step up to the mark a little bit more than what we're doing.
Well, people can check out Varanasi, Varanasi, childrenshospital.org for all the details, and if you want to set up a standing order. But in the meantime, if you want to help Pat's charity, all you do is text India to 50300 and €4 will go. All 100% of that, €4, will go to Varanasi Children's Hospital. Pat McMahon, thank you very much for joining us.
Much.
Now that you've moved the dial, why not download our iPad magazine at newstalk.ie?